Hey, what's happening, audience? I got a good one for you today, okay? As always. But today, I feel like it's going to be special and very uh, related to the current thematic that is going on, okay? And it is about male and female, or masculine and feminine, or man and a woman dynamic that's going on. And yin and yang, as you know, it creates a primordial and primary order of things. And then this is why the way they interact, it's the highest um, order. And if they don't interact the correct way, they interact in a distorted way, then it creates the highest disorder, the highest evil, actually. Anything that celebrates or deliberately distorts the dynamic, this you can call it a sacred dynamic between yin and yang, is the highest form of evil. And the highest form of evil is very subtle, and I'm gonna get to exactly how it looks like. Okay. Now, I don't know if you watched this video. I didn't watch it because it's enough for me to just see the thumbnail and I know what the fuck is going on. But I don't even want to mention by name, but you probably know. They created a little podcast about this distorted version of the monogamy, okay? And in that video, you can see the delusion, the level of delusion that the person can get to in order to justify the distortions that they have, the addictions, the dependencies on the lust and stuff like that, and to paint this into such a very, you know, sugarcoat the crap, honestly, right? And talk about that something is sacred and is spiritual and stuff like that. And they were talking specifically about this idea that um, that monogamy is false, meaning that a lot of people get together on a paper, but they're not really connected at the soul, and that is true. And so then they went one level up and said, like, well, why don't we just be honest about the fact that we are a bunch of animals? That's basically what they said, but they said it in a really, nicely painted way. And specifically, I know some people say, like, hey, let's not judge people or whatever. Again, guys, like, if you listen to somebody and says, like, I don't judge people or whatever, and say, like, judging is not good or whatever, and you have not really looked into what that actually means, then don't even use that word. Judgment and discernment, you can say, right, may be used in a different terms. Like, if you say don't judge, then at least discern, if that's what the word that you use. But the word judgment in itself does not mean this thing that, like, oh, don't say something negative about another person. No, you can clearly do that. Like, I mean, what the fuck? You can't even call the bullshit on the people. You should be calling the bullshit. This intrinsic idea of not judging other people means that don't have that emotional distortion. If you get triggered by it, alchemize it. You see, because that's your weakness towards it. It can get to you. You alchemize this, and then the discernment comes out. Right? That's the difference. But you can totally call out the bullshit. You should be calling out the bullshit. Okay? And you can clearly see the vibe. Even his fucking face looks like a Dracula face. You know what I'm trying to say? His fake ass smile, his fake ass words, everything is fucking fake. It's a very high level psychopath who is still driven by, uh, lust and other addictions, and pumped himself, high doses of the fucking psychedelics, talked to his own fucking ego, and called this as a higher mind. He never really fucking left his lower mind. Okay, um, you're literally looking at an antichrist, and it's very subtle, right? Because it comes as like this fucking, uh, of course, you clearly see that it's vanity driven. Clearly see that it's vanity driven, but it comes as this just sugar glazed crap. You know what I'm trying to say? That's what it comes as. But I mean, anybody with a little bit of sense, you can see it, And then you see like all these guests that are so fucking gullible, going on a show and into the vampire's den and giving him the light and attention, all that shit. Guy hasn't got his own fucking light. This is why he has to get it from those two innocent girls and stuff like that. But that brings me to the source of this dynamic that's what is going on, and it's kind of almost celebrated, right? So they said that like, hey, this is all sacred, this is like all free, but it is not free at all, because they are not free from their own addictions. They're not free from. That's what the true freedom is. Freedom doesn't mean that like I have all these distortions, but now I found the way of how to get them satisfied, and so it's just fooling yourself and living the villain's life, so to speak, right? But you paint it as you're not it, because you would be unhappy if these things that would not be fulfilled, but you just found a way of how to fulfill those addiction and distortions in a kind of it's not a sustainable way, but like temporarily, and it looks good, but it's not. It's very fucking sad. In fact, I have to say, those distortions that I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, there are these distortions in our soul. We all come with these distortions to play this game. But the point of it all is, once you see something outside that triggers you, you alchemize that, you transmute it. And so that thing that you've been looking for, that's to satisfy, like that addiction, it's already there within you. So you don't look for it anymore. Does that make sense? Like you collect that gem. And there are 7 levels. 7 levels. You see 7 called the 7. So we all play in each level game. And you can play the distorted way, or you can play about actually gaining a true freedom and alchemizing each step, right? Now, there may be 7 of these gems, and 7 like 21 unique pairs between them, which is like their dynamic between red dynamic with the purple dynamic with the yellow. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? There's 21 of these, and then each one has a distortion towards either fire, water, earth, or air. So you can see that in total we end up having like 84 distortions. This is just something that I've been working on to help me to kind of identify each single game that we're playing, right? The actual game. Now, you can actually play this game in the hero's way in the right direction and alchemize each one, right? And fulfill your soul desires, not ego tantrums. Or you can become really good at fulfilling your ego tantrums. Then you become like a very highest level of the evil, right? And this is what you saw in that video. This is the highest form of evil, because to me, evil is defined by the error. There is either something that is correct or the corrupt. There's absolutely, and then this idea is being sold as like there's something in between evil and good, that's a balance. No, it's not. Like a drop of fucking poison fucks your entire soup, it cannot be anything in between that, because it's directional. You either move in this direction or that direction. You can't move in both directions at the same time. Okay? So all white magicians are alchemists. All black magicians are not alchemists. They do not, instead of alchemizing the distortion, they find a way through black magic to uh, facilitate that distortion. Now, they end up having this um, fulfillment of life as ecstasy through lust and all these other addictions, right? Um, and as long as those things are there, they're happy. However, but I shouldn't say happy, but they are content and fulfilled, right? They use this lust vibration to manifest things whatever they want, right? And it is possible to do that. But that type of ecstasy is a different vibe. It's not bliss. It's a lust based. For example, he creates a dynamic which rises his, um, uh, you know, lust levels, and so therefore, if he's capable of satisfying these lust levels, then rises his um, like ecstasy. And that's how with that ecstasy can manifest whatever. It can brainwash these girls and sell this idea that it's a good idea, that this is somehow it's sacred and dynamic. He's the biggest crook. And this is why I have to say that I don't know if you want to see the father of this idea that's been sold to the public is Aleister Crowley, right? He wrote pretty much a black magic book, right? But he sold himself as like, oh, this is the way to live. This is how to fulfill all your desires, right? Is um, do as thy wilt, he says basically, right? Do whatever the fuck you want. Um, and so this is the highest form of evil. And it's easy for people to get caught in it because it does give you the satisfaction to the distortions that you have in a quite easy way by just doing a little bit of like tricks with your imagination, and then gaining some sexual lust as a satisfaction, then using that again to gain this. This is black magic shit, okay? And so, and it uses and enslaves innocence. So this is why he's dependent on these women, because this is the way he enslaves them. He doesn't free them, he enslaves them. But he sells this idea that is like, oh, you're free, you know, because like, hey, you can do whatever you want, have sex with other people, and I can do the same kind of thing, right? And so then that's free. No, you just honest beast. But it's kind of fallacy, because I shouldn't say honest, because beast is not an honest thing. It's openly deceptive, if you will, right? And you can see that one of those girls are completely lost, and she's just gullible, and another one is on a fence. She has her own intuition, and she is on the fence of cringe and giving in to this addiction. And I think that's how everything's gonna break down. I think it's gonna break down with that girl. That girl is gonna realize what the fuck she's into, and she's gonna be find it very difficult to quit that addiction, because it's very addictive. And she's gonna have to break down all the way to the bones and start from fresh again. This is the thing, is that when you go to these levels, manipulating reality, but you have not done a single alchemical process, you may have brought your vibration to like a fifth density level, but you don't fucking belong there. You've done it through the accepting distortion, and externally fitting in to get that vibration, but it's not real light. It's an imitation. It's not bliss. It's a type of ecstasy, but it's lower vibe ecstasy, and it's very distinct and different vibe. Okay. But to a lot of people, that's kind of good enough. If they don't know what the true bliss is, they say this like, "Oh, that's that feels, amazing." But when that shit breaks down, the pain that they're gonna have to go through is unimaginable and unimaginable. That's what I'm trying to say. How do I know all this? Because I've been through that. I've been on this trajectory. I was playing in this Luciferian type of dynamic, and I also had this idea, um, which of course it wasn't. Um, it wasn't the idea from the higher wisdom. It was, I've been trying, like, this world, it's feeding you with that shit, and it's trying to trick you, right? And for a moment I gave into this idea that's like, oh yeah, this is like the higher form of living. Let's just be honest about these things, right? But I was not. I was accepting something that I was not intrinsically felt right. I was trying to accept like the way the world works. This fucking uh, this perverse way of looking at life and calling it freedom, right? And so I was also seeing this and thinking like, oh yeah, well, it just makes sense, right? Like if people are already kind of attracted to other people biologically, so why not just accept that? It just makes sense. But only at that level it makes sense, because if you go deeper, you start realizing that wait a second, yes, we do have animal body, but we don't have animal soul. But by settling in with all these distortions that we have, which is an animal soul, we accept ourselves as animals, and then let's just be open as animals, and then what you get is this fucking pile of meat orgies going on, and then that's liberation, right? Of course that's not liberation at all. And that's one of the biggest addictions. Lust is one of the biggest addictions that people can have, especially when they embark on all these games. And I've never gone into these orgies or shit like that, but I was considering in my mind and thinking of accepting this. And um, uh, that mentality basically was living with me, and it was poisoning me and my relationships. And I was not really um, that completely honest as I always was, because from my early age I couldn't understand um, polyamory. I couldn't understand this polygamy thing. Uh, I was seeing it that it's happening, but I could never understand it, because if I'm in love with somebody, uh, I cannot find somebody else attractive. It's just, it wouldn't work for me. It's just that's how I came wired, right? But then through trying to belong to this clusterfuck, to this society that's been created by people like Aleister Crowley and other antichrist, selling this idea as that's the way to do it, and then you end up having all these people doing fucking blood rituals and how to gain the power, and that's the way to live life on this planet, kind of thing, right? That's the person of power, whatever. It's an abomination. And when that realization came, I never really like got into this 100%, because there was something inside of me and synchronistically protecting me from getting into that crap. Sorry about that. It just wouldn't work, right? Like, and and I had to go through like very painful breakdown of me. You know, you go backwards, right? Like, for example, if you go that way, and to these people that I'm talking about, they got to the fifth density vibration through this path. They, when that's not gonna work, when the shit is not gonna work, it's gonna break down. They're gonna fall back to the third density vibration, but now they're conditioned to this amazing feeling. What does that mean? Pain, agonizing pain. It's like the most worst, the withdrawal that you could ever imagine. And that's what they're afraid of, because they know they took the path that leads to hell, and it's running out. That shit is not sustainable, and it's running out. It's running its course. This is what they're afraid of, whether they consciously understand or not. People like that is gonna have like the, as they call it, a tower moment. The biggest tower moment ever is this story that you see there is going to end in tragic, and they're gonna go through crazy pain. Okay, so don't bother going that way. And now I'm gonna go into like more principles of how to have this dynamic that is not in a way that is not corrupted. Okay. Okay. This is the P Diddy shit, the Epstein or whatever the fuck his name is. This is the same stuff, right? This is the cookie cutter Antichrist manual, okay, of how to live a life like that. Yes, you do get success. You sell your soul, because what does that mean, selling your soul? It means that you don't go and play the game in the right way. You don't alchemize those distortions within you. You find a way to fulfill them. Your ego tantrums. You find a way your ego tantrums to be fulfilled. Okay. And the level of the rehab that they're gonna have to go into is crazy. But anyway, I'm just trying to communicate something here, is that if you went to that path, you cannot go any higher. You cannot go to the sixth and seventh density vibration, which is where the bliss is, the true bliss, the crystal clear bliss. It's not tainted, because that ecstasy is dirty. It's vibing, but it has this dirtiness to it. Like, and I don't mean, I'm just trying to use language to describe the feeling of that vibe. Okay. Yes, it is ecstatic, but it's unclean. I can tell you that it's unclean because I can compare to the clean ecstasy. Okay. So now, I don't envy these people. I call them out as what they are. And I don't know if they even got what it takes to go through this, because it's very difficult to go through this. to collapse everything that they built, every psychedelic that they took, all this knowledge that they've gained, everything they created, that thing that has to be destroyed. And each destruction of this thing hurts like hell. And so they created this pile of bullshit that they're gonna have to uh, alchemize everything. So anyway, and so they are actually a third density. You know, like I use these words, but I don't use the words from the New Age kind of thing. It's you can discover it yourself that there are indeed 7 states, these 7 colors. You know that that white light splits. I mean, you can see it in the rainbow. There's 7 colors in the rainbow, and you can recognize these feelings, the states, that what it feels like, the green ray, the blue ray, the purple ray, and familiarize yourself with all these aligned states, and see like, oh, that's a sense of security. It's a very, very fuzzy, cozy feeling, and it's like, oh, that's pleasure and joy, and it's like, oh yeah, that's how it feels. This, and then the yellow may be something like it's like this sharp, ecstatic feeling. It's hard to describe, but it's like it's sharp. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you can discover these within yourself. As you alchemize, they start coming up, right? And then once you alchemize, you can invoke them. And that's where the theurgy comes in, which is the only true magic that anybody should be engaged in, unless they really want to go to hell, is alchemize and do the theurgy, which is white magic, which is just invoking the state of consciousness that is aligned and beautiful and all that stuff. Okay, this video is going to be a little bit longer, but I feel like we have to talk about this. Okay, as someone who's been on that path, but for whatever the fuck reason, I never gone through it, because I started experiencing those pains associated with that, and for a year I had to break myself down. And yeah, I was at the time like magical, you know. I'm trying to say, like, yeah, you do see things, you do see premonitions, but it's all false. Everything has to break down. And so then after that, I end up being just average third density schmo with no magic at all. And as somebody who's just in a constant state of pain, because now I witnessed that, and now I am here, you know, I'm trying to say. So the contrast gave me that pain. And somehow, some way, I was able to break through. And this is how I learned alchemy. I started with like the really big demon, so to speak, right? But little by little, I broke through, and I got back to the same level of ecstasy that I was experiencing before, peace and bliss. But this time it's clean. It's clean. It's not dependent on external things. It's not dependent of some fucked up dynamic within you and women and stuff like that, right? It's clean. And it's not going anywhere. And that's an amazing thing to be, the place to be, okay? And now, every so often, I get to experience even higher states of bliss too. And obviously, they are incomparable to that thing. So, okay, so this is like this Luciferian light bringer kind of thing. And then the other path would be the genuine, like Jesus path, if you will, right? I don't like using these things, but you get what I'm saying. I don't mean specific historical figure. I mean the archetypical path that you're on. Okay. Now, and so if you are still And look, like I've been experimenting with this and looking into like this um, lust dynamics and watching like women and stuff like that. And I have to say, most women, they have no fucking idea what's going on. They think it's normal. And so Alistair Crowley, he called himself Beast 666, which is exactly what this is. Beast and the Scarlet Woman, he called it, or Babylon Whore. Okay, those are the two archetypes of the biggest crook and the biggest whore. Okay, and so now society is built that you get all these rewards. Forget about like you're in alchemy or whatever. You get all these rewards if you're becoming a better and better whore and bigger and bigger crook. And so now society is built on those two pillars. In the essence is what I'm trying to describe. There's more complexities to this, but in the essence is that's the archetype that some women are following. A lot of women, they just go into this is like, oh, that's normal, that's part of society. Oh yeah, I have to post my ass on Instagram. I have to do all these things. Everybody does it, right? They don't have no father figures that even if they would, they probably wouldn't listen to and stuff like that. And idolizing crooks, idolizing the beast, right? Because the beast can give them that false light, that thing that they're looking for, not knowing that the pain that they're bringing themselves is insane. But it is what it is. But there is a real gentleman's way, and once you start alchemizing, once you start facing all these feelings that are there and turning something that is into something that is by yourself, not dependency on anything, not trinkets, nothing, just you and your consciousness. In the contrast, you're going to start seeing other people very clearly, and the energies too. You're going to start feeling the Babylon whore archetype in woman. It's this archetype where they're not willing to open up to you at all, but they want your energy. It's stealing your energy. They don't open up, so there's not equal exchange of value, but they want your energy. They may flirt with you, they do this, but it's not genuine, so false. And it's just to take your energy, distract you from your real path. So that brings me to a very important thing for a gentleman, and I think this is what's going on right now. It's beating lust with your will. It is the lust dominance or your will dominance. Your will must be stronger than your lust, or I have to say, your soul's will has to be stronger than your ego's lust. Okay, this is the dynamic that we're working on right now. And even lately, that was the battle within me, and sometimes like I would win major ones and sometimes I would lose. But now, as it keeps coming to, I'm gaining more and more clarity. Every time I lose, after I alchemize, after that loss, I get more clarity and say like, wow, this is has a tremendous importance. And I thought that's just like entertainment or whatever. But now I'm seeing this something that has incredible importance, almost like an essence, the whole point of life. So, which means that your entire motivation changes actually, and some people don't even use this word anymore as motivation, and they say that if you have a motive, then you're acting from this distortion. You are acting, you're not interested in alchemizing. You have a motive to fulfill that ego desire rather than alchemize it and having soul inspiration, if you will, right? The way you function in the world is no longer through the motive, but through the inspiration. Does that make sense? It's not means like you don't do anything. You do things, but what moves you is not the same. Before, what might move you is like this opportunity to have sex, right? It's like sex and lust driven. It's like, well, I'll do all these things. I'll go to the gym. I'll do these things because then I can get laid, kind of thing, right? So if you have this motive, then you're not out of lust. The alchemy replaces that need for sex because you already start having the sense of bliss, and in fact, the sex, this sex and this physical orgasm, sex, is just fails in comparison of what the states of consciousness you already have within, or you can have within if you don't go that way. Okay. And I'm not being like anti-sex here, but may sound like I am, but I'm not. What I'm saying is that don't have sex out of lust, like, and I mean ever again. Don't be driven by lust anymore. If you are, I'm talking about, of course, both genders, but most of my viewers are probably men, so probably talking to men more than women. Okay, so and I understand, for example, you may one thing I have to say is that, like, how do you find women? If you are into picking women up, apps, Instagram, social media, all that shit, if you're into that and this is how you meet women, you are acting from the frame of beast. I know it may seem like, no, but that's what everybody do. Is no, gentlemen, don't fucking do that shit. Okay? They don't do that shit. Why? It's because your mission and what you are here to do is supposed to take your primary attention. Okay? And through your mission, whatever or whoever crosses your path, that's how you're going to meet the girl that is yours. Okay? Or the man that is yours. And in this dynamic, you may there is no, okay, I have to say something about this fucking bullshit, the same matrix bullshit, the same 3D nonsense that people are talking about. They painting it as spiritual. They call it twin flame or whatever, and say like a chaser and fucking run a dynamic. One person wants it, another person doesn't want it. They say there's a third party there and shit like that. You have to understand, all of that is the same fucking Aleister Crowley fucking world. It's all beast and Babylon whore. There is no third party in a true love. What the fuck are you talking about? You're just describing the same old fucking bullshit. And everybody's biting that shit like as if it's supposed to be this way. Is this love? It's like you feel feelings for somebody and they don't respond to you. That's what we call love right now. And then this, I'm trying, or they run and they say like, well, they're not ready for this, or like, or they, somebody who is like addicted, and somebody who, it's all this bullshit kind of thing. But this is not love. You don't have to participate it at all into this shit. You just have to change the direction of where you're going and say, focus your attention, because the only free will you have is where you're going to put your attention. You can't put attention in this game. And you may say like, well, you may have a habit to do this. Is like that's the way people are meeting. It's like, but what kind of people are you meeting? I mean, how it fucking ends, you know? Does it ever end up in a fairy tale story? It doesn't. It doesn't mean that it can be. It doesn't mean that you can have a harmonious, happy relationship that is based on bliss. But absolutely, this reality, absolutely conducive to this type of relationship dynamic that everybody's looking for. But you can't find it in this, the Beast and Babylon whole world. It's not there. And I mean, even people spiritual, like a lot of look like I was so fucking gullible, and thinking that like if somebody looks spiritual or like they teach people or they guide people, then I thought that well that's maybe like a spiritual woman. And then I would always have this unfucking eerie type of attraction to these women, but there's no response, you know, to them. I could feel that they're closed off completely, and they give just enough to get your attention, kind of thing. But they're not gonna open up to you. They can't open up because they function on the lower vibe. But they use all this fucking magic, and they're just basically fucking witches. They're basically the same old dark witches that cover themselves in the nice garments. Be careful of these spiritual women. A spiritual woman doesn't do anything to be spiritual. She emanates the aura. You can feel it immediately. She doesn't need to have no fucking trinkets. She doesn't have to talk about it. She doesn't have to wear the garments that look spiritual. She doesn't do any of that shit. She's not even gonna be like guiding some fucking retreat or whatever. These are the witches who do these retreats to pacify their own need, their own vanities. You see? And once I started alchemizing and started getting my own energy, my own power, I started feeling and started seeing things. It's like, what the fuck? How fucking gullible I was. I thought that this woman is so spiritual, so advanced, and I realized that it's actually not only that, it's that you went in a backwards way. That she has to go back all the way back to the 3D and start anew. That she is actually worse than the person who's been living life in a genuine way. Do you see how bad this is to go into this spiritual path and never really face, you know, your own distortions? You never really face your own emotions. They always look something from the outside, like some fucking guru, some this. Look at this thing, look at this fucking thing, look at this trinket, look at this music, look at this instrument, look at this. Everything's fucking outside with them, you know? Trying to cover up that they have nothing inside, that they're all broken inside, and not through fault of their own. We will all come in with this game, these distortions, but they played it wrong. And I'm not speaking on women, both directions. I mean, both genders went that direction. But this is why it stinks, okay? This is how I would describe that vibe that they have. It stinks. It smells bad. I mean, of course, I'm again using the metaphor, but that's how I would describe the vibe that I get from them. It's basically like a lot of Febreze on a pile of shit. You can still smell the shit. It's just that now it's mixed with Febreze, and it makes it even worse. You know? So, and I mean, if you're a man and if you're going this way, and it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, of course, there are people who, a lot of people, huge number of people that just see through this bullshit and see like, what the fuck is this abomination? And focus on creating permaculture villages. Focus on um, having real relationship, not having this fucking lust-based relationships, but having love-based relationships, right? And and of course, as a man, you may be going through this and having your own alignment. If you meet a woman and just kind of like still one foot in that world, and but she kind of wants to leave it, um, uh, it's like quitting an addiction, you know. And you may not want to even get into this kind of thing. It's like, well, um, she better go through this withdrawal, you know, or I'm not into this. But you can also choose to say like, yeah, if you're gonna meet a girl who's like um, halfway there, uh, you're gonna have to set the boundaries. You're gonna have to set the boundaries. No butts on the fucking Instagram. No social media in this way. Only like decentralized social media. And if she agrees with that, then she agrees to go through these withdrawals. And you as a man, you're probably gonna have to offer up something better. But I assume that you would something offers way better than those um, things that are available that are not real. But there is gonna be certain reprogramming that is going on, and you may not want to even be part of this. It's like, hey, I don't want to take this responsibility of reprogramming somebody into back into alignment, you know. But if you do end up in this situation, uh, if you do end up in this situation, strong boundaries, man. Nothing, not a drop of, of, of poison. And then eventually, once they adapt to this real frequency, real vibe, they see themselves as like, what the fuck was I doing? Why would I put my ass on the Instagram for thousands of men to see? Like, what the fuck was I thinking? Why would I even be interested in that attention, you know? But anyway, I digress. The moral of the story: don't buy into this shit, man. That is not how you play the game of life. It's the opposite of how you play the game of life. And I mean, a lot of um, Jesus teachings from the Bible say like, well, you know, have like sex only after marriage. But he meant the connection. It has to be out of love. It has to be out of genuine, true love. And the true love is cleans everything up, all these distortions and everything. And both people have to be very motivated. Not motivate, maybe it's not even the word, but um, love has to have a higher value than lust. And of course, they already had to have an experience of what it's like to betray the sacred bond. That they don't gain anything, that little lust uh, satisfaction destroys something immensely important, and then it may take years to get back to the same level of trust, because everything is recorded. Like if you do something like that, it's in your vibe, and then unless you go through these distortions, through the alchemy, people feel it. A man with a clear vibe will look at the woman and immediately says like, yeah, you're not faithful, I'm not interested in you. um, The intentions are clearly written. And it's not like, oh, I want to be faithful, or no, it's what you are inside. And that is, of course, subject to change, but through pretty intense and painful process. I also want to say something. You may be these games, these 7 levels, you may be playing like really well on this on one level game, and then get to the point where there's a boss challenge, and if you fail that one, you go back to the beginning. You gotta go fight the same fucking demons that you fought before until you actually go through it completely and win the boss. Just like in a video game. You're not leveling up to the next level until you beat the boss. And you can play really fucking well all this game, and if you lose to the boss, you start from the beginning. So I understand that going to the level all the way, it is very important. It may get really fucking hard at the end. It gets to the hardest point where you think that you can't handle anymore, and but you're still going. What does that look like? If, for example, it may be like an attack, lust attack, and you have this fucking craving. Oh, I have to jerk off, or I have to play with myself, or I don't know, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind, something like that. It may look like that. But if you gather your attention, and your attention is stronger than that thing, and you can breathe or whatever, and then you can go through that. You can go through this, and you can totally beat it. But your will has to be stronger than the lust. But once you beat it, you gain a certain type of state of consciousness inside you that has the reward of the sex already inside you. And so then the sex can't really offer you anything, like just regular sex can you offer. The anything that can beat that is love, connection with somebody else, and through that, then you can play. But it's not normal physical sex through that. Yes, the body is still there and the play is still there, but the energy is completely fucking different. So and this is why, as always say, it happens naturally. It's not that you gotta control it anymore. You broke through it. You don't have to control it anymore. It's just like with these guys, and it's like semen retention. It's not about semen retention. It's about lust alchemy. Because you're gonna hold the semen inside you and use the willpower, like this. It's not gonna last, first of all, and it's not about retaining semen. You just get to the point where you are not interested in releasing the semen, because that thing is not there anymore. Not using you see what I'm trying to say? It's not like it's tricky, because alchemy is something that you completely face all the way, and it's almost like going through the portal. And willpower is like you don't pay attention to this thing that is happening inside you. You just retain semen like a fucking idiot, Just be careful it doesn't fucking blow it out of your ass. The same thing with fasting. Again, it's like this, like, oh, I'm gonna fast. I'm gonna create like this artificial thing, so that's gonna feel better. No, it's backwards. Once you get that vibe inside of you, you don't need to eat. Does that make sense? This is why it's so tricky. This is why there's a spirituality and there's spiritualism. And true spirituality doesn't really need attention. It's all very private, very internal, and it's invisible. If it's visible, it's not spirituality, It can be sensed, but it's not visible. So, and that's the thematic that's going on right now. And if you, as a man and as a woman as well, are capable to beat the lust, alchemize it, that will bring you to the love frequency, and that's how you're actually gonna meet the person that you're meant to be with. Um, in a true monogamy, not gonna need to worry that like other people, whatever. There's no third parties. There's no running. There's no chasing. None of that shit, man. And that vibe, that frequency, everything is transparent. You can't lie. You can't hide. Everything's obvious. Everything's transparent. It's complete and pure honesty. It's like in this fucking 3D game, this bullshit 3D game. It's all about deceiving and lying. It's like not being honest, not being authentic. Hiding your true feelings. It's all backwards. And this one is just completely open with your true feelings, because in the previous one, like, if you're open with your feelings, then you're a fucking weirdo. But in this one, it's like kids. There's no filter. It's just like, this is how I feel, this is how I feel. And then there's this reciprocity that is going on naturally, and there's nothing to hide, right? And that's how you no longer have any kind of doubts, because you're not in this vibe of doubts anymore. Because if you are vibing at the frequency of love, and you meet somebody who is full of doubts, it's just there's no relation anymore over there, right? And so why would you be interested in that person? Like, a lot of times, the attraction that I felt for women, I would think like, wow, why? Because once you alchemize that lust, that addiction is gone away. It's like, wait, I've never actually had any feelings of love for that person. It was some fucking black magic bullshit going on, and it was a spell. It wasn't genuine, and so he was just trying to get my attention. This the whole succubus tricks kind of thing. And so don't be gullible. I mean, it's obvious. It's always very obvious if a woman loves you or not. It's so fucking obvious. If she can be like addicted to you, but that's not love. It's so obvious, you know. If she nags, demands, and you know always unhappy with you and all this, that's not love. She has no love for you. She may be addicted to you, but she has no love for you. Okay. And I said big no to this. I said no. There's some. There's got to be something else than this. This constant fucking arguments or whatever. It just never felt right to me. It felt like everybody's accepting this as normal, but it never felt right to me. I'd rather go through hell and do all whatever I have to do, pay my dues, but have a relationship that is based on love and true monogamy, not whatever the fuck these people are selling to you. You know. And again, I'm not anti-sex or whatever, but I'm saying that like all of your passion, all of your intention to create ecstasy in your woman is just for one woman who's in reciprocating love connection with you, for nobody else. And I know like in this matrix game, people are saying like, well, have like 10 different options and then see which one. Dude, you're gonna end up with the same old fucking pattern, the same old bullshit. It's all based love. What woman is gonna stay with you when you are juggling 10 women, and then she's kind of selected out of all these women who's like, oh, I was banging 10 women, but like I end up with you. Wow, how fucking romantic is this? Amazing. You're a true fucking hero. You're a true gentleman. No, you're the same fucking jackass beast, man. Nothing impressive. Boring as fuck. ordinary as a fucking garden hose. Anyway, oh my god, over 1 hour talking. But it is what it is, you know. If you're still listening, then you maybe you're serious about living life like. Then you can see that this society won't do, and you are totally deserving of fulfilling your soul desires, and you will, but not through that mechanism, you know. And people are, teaching and this, and some people are kind of trying to be teaching a little bit better, but still leaving a little bit of bullshit in there, and so you put a little bit of poison in, that's it. But men are so craving, to have like, some men that just want to still get laid, they're still lust based, and so they just want to learn the tricks and have fun with Babylon horse. But some men, they want to have a true loving connection that they can be dedicated to, and but they get distracted by this. Is like, oh, maybe that's the way. I have to learn how to do pickup. I have to do. Nah, man, that's not the way. There's a lot of that teaching of understanding how woman mind works, woman body works, and that inspiration, that energy that is inside of you, is to create art, right? It's like playing a musical instrument, dancing, creating some structures that are artistic and whatnot. The same way you create the music by making love with a woman. You are an artist. You become an artist, but you have one, woman, of course, through which you are creating that art and exploring your states of consciousness and the feelings and things and imagination. And it's all very beautiful, but you do this with one uh, woman, and one woman contains the entire universe. You don't need another one. If you need another one, that's your lust based situation. Okay. That what I'm trying to say here is that a gentleman should learn these things, right? There's certain type of skill to the art, and uh, a certain type of science to the art, and you know what I'm trying to say. There's a skill part of it, and then there's a hard part of it. And the hard part of it, that's the way I would describe it, is like you invoking the states of consciousness, the white magic, right? And you may be able to invoke these states of consciousness, and you're guiding the woman just like in a dance. You're guiding woman through all these things. It's like you know, you create the experience, the roller coaster experience for her. But it's your duty, your responsibility to do this. And so this is why, like, this is the true Venusian arts, as they call it. That's the true Venusian art. It's not about having many women, and and saying like, oh, this ego bullshit is like, oh, I nailed her kind of thing, And all these pickup artists, they're so fucking. They're not all of them, because there's um there's always somebody infiltrating their bullshit and trying to pull them out of that nonsense that they're in, but they're playing as one of the teachers, but they really don't have intention of making people stay in that abyss, and they're trying to get people out. There's always someone like that. So not all of them like that, but there will always, may get people through this idea of picking up chicks, and then actually show this, like, hey, that's what's going on in the world, okay? That's what you really want. And then you realize, oh shit, yeah, that's what I really want. fucking, I thought that I want to pick up chicks. And so, some teachers connect the dots for the people, and they get these men out of this nonsense. Others, they stuck in this, and they think that that's life. But they're sad. They don't have loving relationships. This is like, well, I slept with the most beautiful woman in the world. Yeah, and um, you know, how's your love life? And they don't got it, because it's not compatible. You know, they're still acting at this beast level. But to learn the art of making love is very valuable. So there's value there, but usually it's not from the pickup artists. Usually it's from the men who explore and they're interested in that. But the explorer is interested to do this with their woman, not. This is the thing that you can get caught in. It's like you can learn a lot from one man who's functioning in the beast mode, not in a good way, because his intention, because he needs to fulfill that distortion, he does all this thing. But the skills and the art that he may have learned is applicable to do it with one woman, right? And what I'm trying to say, I'm not vilifying making love, having sex, and even whatever those, even the kinky games and whatever, whatever the people want. But it's not done out of because you have a beast in your heart. You still have a physical body, but you're not. It's an instrument. It becomes an instrument, um, which is fun to play with. You don't become this monk in a cave. That's nonsense. But you have a beautiful relationship that's based on trust and love, all that stuff. And on top of that, you have all this ecstasy. But this time is clean. It's not that dirty ecstasy, which both people intuitively know it's going to end in a disaster. It's not that anymore. It's beautiful. And like I said in the previous video, man, there's nothing wrong with sex, nothing wrong with taking sexy pictures and sharing this, but it has to be done between the two people in love. It's not public. And then you can get all that satisfaction that sex can bring you, but it's in the background of love. You see? Only then there's no crash. And just be more discerning, just look at this and it's like, okay, what's going on here? Oh, there's a third party. Not it. What's going on here? There's no genuine reciprocation. There's no response. There's like somebody's running from their feelings. That's not it. And just focus on your mission and cut that shit off. And this way you get more peace in your life, more satisfaction of creating art, which will include your love relationship. It's an art as well, because everything becomes like playing, creating and playing. It's about creating and playing. Yeah, it's about creating and playing. But there's this drive, like when kids, like, what kind of motive they had. They didn't have motive. They didn't have Machiavelli motive, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wanna fuck this guy up. Maybe few, like most evil kids maybe did, But the others, they just wanted to play and have fun in the game, and just be stupid about it. And that's it. And that's what we're here to do. Just play the game. And if you're having fun, then that's it. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to get to. There's no um, um, does that make sense? There's nowhere to get to. It means no one to get either. You don't get a woman. You don't get a man. It just happens. Not by choice. Love is not a choice. So, so when there is this dynamic, uh, somebody's choosing somebody, that's not love. You got no choice in it. Anyway, that will be it for today. You know what I'm doing.